I usually don't spoil movies that are this brand new, but yeah, I'll do this one. Especially because there's a lot of people right now that think they're smarter and better than everybody else and are telling people if you don't like this movie, you just didn't understand it, as if it's that fucking hard to get. A Woman in the Yard is about this woman named Ramona, and right away we learn that she and her husband had gotten in a car accident where he was driving. She broke her leg, but he unfortunately died. Immediately, we see that she's struggling with her grief. She's watching like a video of him on repeat. Her son has to come get her out of bed. We learn that Ramona has 2 kids, Taylor and Annie. Obviously, she is left to raise them on her own now that her husband's gone. Bills are piling up. You can see that she is very much relying on Taylor to take care of his younger sister. And immediately they set the scene for the fact that these people are not going to be able to call for help. So the power's out because Ramona didn't pay the bill. Ramona's phone is dead and now she can't charge it. Taylor's phone went missing. He lost it. So they have no way to call anybody. Then suddenly they look outside and they notice that there is this woman cloaked in black sitting in their yard. Ramona tries to go out and talk to her, at which point the first thing that she says to Ramona is, "How did I get here?" So she thinks that she's just like a confused old woman. Then she starts to tell Ramona, "Today's the day." She shows her her bloodied hands. Ramona goes back inside completely panicked, and for the next hour, not a whole lot happens. You do see Ramona have these outbursts of rage. At one point, she like smashes a bowl when Taylor doesn't listen to her. And Annie later steps on a piece of the broken glass from that bowl, so it's meant to signify how like grief and trauma extend onto others around you. There's one point where Ramona sees herself holding Annie, and it seems like something possesses her, and she picks up a butcher knife and stabs Annie in the back. But when she comes to, she realizes she was just holding a pillow. Taylor at one point tries to go to the garage and start the car, and of course it's fucking dead, so now they can't get out of there either. So at this point, Taylor finds a shotgun, despite the fact that Ramona is begging him not to do anything. But he goes outside anyway and holds the woman at gunpoint, and she stands up, and at this point she reveals her face. Can't find an actual picture of her in costume revealed because it's too new, but it's this woman. So no, it's not Ramona physically. She basically tells Taylor, like, your mother is hiding something from you. She's been lying to you. So at this point, Taylor goes in and confronts his mother, and she admits that she was actually the one driving the car the night that her husband/their father died. We get a flashback of that night, and we see Ramona driving. She obviously is in a bad place. She tells her husband, like, she didn't want to move to this farm. They live on a remote farm, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Of course, there's no neighbors around to help either. So they pretty much have an argument because Ramona admits that she's unhappy. So they're driving in the car. Ramona looks in her rearview mirror, and at this point she sees the woman in the yard, like this woman draped in black, which I'll tell you what that signifies after we finish this whole thing. Because she's distracted by this, she ends up crashing the car, and of course we know her husband died from it. As Taylor is confronting her about this, we see that the woman is able to like move through the shadows. She starts moving shit around in the house and tries to like attack Annie. So at this point, the 3 of them run upstairs trying to look for somewhere where there's no light. So they decide to run to the attic, which has a window, so like also has light. This is what I meant in my review when I said like, it just doesn't make sense. Like I know what's happening, I can follow, it just doesn't make any fucking logical sense. We see the woman come through the light and attack Annie, but they cover the light so she's fine. And I don't exactly remember how, but the woman gets into the attic again. We see Ramona become just like a shadow, like her physical form is gone, and now it's the woman talking to her kids using Ramona's voice. We see that Ramona has been transported to like this mirror world where everything is reversed. This is also supposed to be like her ideal world because she sees her husband again, like he's still alive. But the woman then possesses the husband and attacks Ramona. I think it was the woman the entire time. And basically she says to Ramona, like, you prayed for me and I came. We see a flashback of Ramona getting out of bed praying for strength. And the woman's like, no, that's not what you prayed for. You and I both know very well what you prayed for. And it turns out that Ramona was praying for the strength to commit suicide because she couldn't go on. That's why she kept the shotgun, and we had seen earlier that the bullets were missing with the exception of one bullet that was in the gun, loaded for exactly that purpose of her to kill herself. And now we understand why Ramona had that vision of her stabbing Annie earlier, because it's like she wants to do this and take her kids with her. At this point, we get a flash of when the woman first appeared on the lawn, and we see Ramona from her POV, like, so she is the woman. And that's why at first the woman said, how did I get here? Because it's Ramona confused as to what the fuck she's doing there. I think this is meant to symbolize how the woman obviously is Ramona, and it just represents like the grief, like the dark part of her. So the woman is here to make Ramona kill herself, and she agrees to it, but she's like, let me go say goodbye to my kids first. So she takes her kids outside and like doesn't really say goodbye to them. She's just like, go walk 2 miles to the neighbors and ask for help. And they try to get Ramona to go with them, but she says no. So Ramona goes back inside, grabs the gun, and at this point we see the woman has like become a shadow and has morphed into Ramona. So it's meant to signify how like the dark part of her is taking over. We see Ramona put the gun to herself, but then the camera cuts. And then we see her going outside and being reunited with her kids. So she didn't do it, but they're reunited and they go to walk into the house and the power comes back on. And then we focus in on this painting that Ramona had made. And we see that her name on the bottom is reversed. So my interpretation of this is Ramona actually did kill herself and now is living in this like reverse mirror world. But that also makes no sense because as they're walking into the house, we see a sign for the farm that says Iris Haven, and that's not reversed. So there's a plot hole in their plot twist. Oh yes, the movie does have a deeper meaning. It is about grief and loss and generational trauma, but that does not make it good. But when she had seen the woman earlier in the rearview mirror of her car, I think it's because she was already struggling with these suicidal thoughts because she wasn't happy. When we see the woman's face at points, we also see that half of her face is missing as if she shot herself as well. So people are saying that like the woman represents Ramona's dark side, which I do think is accurate. But at the same time, I think the woman is also another woman who was maybe in Ramona's same position who did go through with killing herself. And now she's the woman in the yard, which gives me the thought that Ramona is now going to become the next woman in the yard for somebody else in her position.